Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to have a very serious conversation with you guys as we have the lead up to chapter 13 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, because I think that we have all the pieces right now for a rather interesting change of the lore for the franchise itself, as well as an overall direction for Boruto's character moving forward, which is why in today's newest Naruto Explain video, I want to have a serious conversation with you on why Boruto is being positioned, or rather must destroy, everything left behind by Isshiki before the end of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and why it must be done before Naruto can get unsealed and Sasuke rescued from the tree he's stuck inside of. To understand why this is the case, we must first look at the reasons that Naruto and Sasuke will obviously inevitably be released, and most importantly, why all this has to be done before Boruto and Kawaki are released from their karma seals, which I think is the end game for the series, Boruto and Kawaki being reverted back to 100% Otsutsuki. Now, I think most of us would agree that it's really only a matter of time of when Naruto and Sasuke are saved from their current fates, and not so much as if they get saved from their current fates, especially Naruto, because he got his idol sealed away in a dimension where time doesn't flow in order to protect him from that big bad Otsutsuki that are out there, and big mean old code, and the 10 tails, and the fact that Naruto has been joined by his wife Hinata. It only leads to more concrete proof of the guy inevitably being unsealed, because Hinata is an innocent third party who only takes out missions that are short enough to be wrapped up in a few hours time so that she can go home and make dinner for her family at the end of each day. Sasuke, on the other hand, he seems just as safe as well, so long as Tobirama isn't isekai'd into the Naruto world as a lumberjack and comes across Sasuke's tree and suddenly gets the urges to start killing Uchiha. Otherwise, Sasuke, he too appears to be safe, because Boruto is currently wielding Sasuke's sword, which is a huge deal, because when you add in the samurai elements that are extremely heavy as an influence for Sasuke's character, and the way in which his relationship is portrayed with Boruto in terms of Sasuke being his master, Sasuke by default is safe as well. The reason being is that in Japanese culture, which a lot of people don't take into account, for a samurai to lend their sword to another, it is a sign of the greatest trust, because for a samurai, their sword, it is their soul. To lose their sword means to lose their status and honor, which brings shame to their family. While Sasuke didn't literally give Boruto his sword, he did entrust him with his daughter, and Boruto is using Sasuke's sword to protect Sasuke's daughter, to uphold the trust that he placed in him, because Boruto's own sword, it was broken in the fight with Code due to Boruto's own negligence and Boruto's own inexperience and lack of skill at the time, which I've gone in more detail in another video explaining, so I'm not going to repeat those talking points. Boruto has upheld that promise to Sasuke, or rather he must uphold it before he can unseal him and ultimately hand Sasuke his sword back. Unless, of course, again, Sasuke gives him the sword to further entrust him with taking his mantle as Shadow Hokage. Now, this, of course, brings us to the important matters that you guys clicked here on the video for, which is the destruction of everything left behind by Isshiki. As we all know, Isshiki was one of the two Otsutsuki who originally came to the earth with the intention of harvesting everything by sucking the chakra from the life on the planet and making a chakra fruit. But then, of course, this would lead to Kaguya making an audible midway through the play, and she sneak attack Isshiki so she could take the chakra fruit for herself. Over the next millennia, so the next 1,000 years, we would see countless members of her clan each come to Earth looking to harvest the chakra fruit, keeping in line with what we were told in the past, which is that every millennia a chakra fruit is able to be harvested from a planet, and the Earth as we all know it is long overdue, and the Earth's chakra fruit is going to be insanely powerful due to all the life forms that have existed on Earth since the last harvest 1,000 years ago. The chakra fruit is made up of all the genetic material and life force of those who have once lived on the planet since the last harvest. So that would be the Sage of Six Paths when he was a Jinchuriki for the Ten Tails, and Madara, and Hashirama, Jubiobito, Kaguya when she was resurrected using Madara's body, the floating space boogers of the Sage of Six Paths when we saw him speaking to the Edo Tensei Hokage, Toneri when he attained the Tensegon and took Hinata off to the moon, Jigen, Isshiki, Ada, Damon, and most importantly, the current version of Boruto who scales over Jigen. That next chakra fruit is about to be extremely cracked because life in of itself has only grown more powerful over the time since the last harvest, because there hasn't been a reset in the way that nature will do its own form of a reset in the form of a forest fire. We see this clearly when Momoshiki learns of the space-time curvature that comes from the planet and how much larger it was than it was supposed to be. And the Earth's fruit right now was special enough that Isshiki sat there patiently until he could find a proper vessel with Kawaki 1,000 years ago before he even attempted to harvest it, and he died after he was so hell-bent on trying to harvest, and he was willing to tell his favorite little Boy Scout code to go harvest a chakra fruit and avenge his death and avenge the death of Scoutmaster Jigen. Everything that has happened since that moment is all because of Isshiki, the 10 tails that was left behind. It is the 10 tails that belongs to Isshiki. The Karma Seal, that power that altered the 10 tails by awakening them, that was chakra that belonged to Isshiki that Code can use, because when he genetically changed them according to Boruto, Code was using Otsutsuki power because karma comes from the Otsutsuki. Code cannot be used for resurrection purposes, but he can still use a weaponized karma that gets the chakra boost that any vessel Isshiki gets, just not the dojutsu powers and not the power to absorb. And Isshiki made it clear that Code could absorb the chakra fruit by ingesting it and upgrade himself into being Otsutsuki if he were indeed able to harvest a chakra fruit. Assuming, of course, Isshiki's telling the truth, since we know from Orochimaru's research, he's concluded that the chakra fruit and the god tree, they are beyond human comprehension and they should not be meddled with by humans. And Code is still a human. He's a cyborg, but he is a human. As a result of Code messing with things that go well beyond his understanding, which that's a really long list because Code is an idiot. The point still stands, even as the Otsutsuki worshipping nut job that he is. Even he did not understand how badly he screwed up when he broke up the 10 tails and gave them chakra, which fueled their evolution and their eventual awakening. This is all happening because Scoutmaster Jigen was being controlled by Isshiki, who ended up giving Code one-eyed Willy style white lines on his face and his hand when Jigen implanted the Karma Seal on the Code, and he forever changed him. Right now, Boruto is the one who has to engage in all of that in order to clean it up, and that's not counting the promise that Boruto and Kawaki made to each other to free themselves of the destiny of the Karma itself. While Kawaki is free from the fate of being an Otsutsuki vessel who gets their soul erased when their Otsutsuki is revived, and Boruto is free from the fate in that Momoshiki cannot do the same to him, the fact remains that both of them, they are still resonating with each other's karma, and most importantly, both in very different ways are still trapped by the Karma Seal. Again, their souls, they will never be erased, but they are trapped by the karma. Kawaki is still genetically Otsutsuki, and his body has only further adapted to using Isshiki's power. He was born in this world as a human, and as things still stand right now, he will die in this world genetically Otsutsuki, not leaving the world in the way in which he came, which that all goes back to Boruto and Kawaki's promise. Boruto not only has the same fate, but he also has the threat of Momoshiki being able to hijack his body, because Momoshiki's soul is still attached to him as a container. He just can't erase Boruto's soul like he would have done if he could resurrect using Boruto, had Momoshiki not sacrificed the remaining 18% of his data to rebuild Boruto's internal organs. He just has to settle for hijacking occasionally. Before Boruto and Kawaki can have their Karma Seals replaced, they are walking different paths headed towards the same goal: to wipe out everything that once belonged to Isshiki, destroy the will of the Otsutsuki that Isshiki left behind, and everything else that was left behind by him, namely Code and the 10 tails. Anything else Otsutsuki Clan related, it can be lumped into that category too. The dispute between brothers has to be erased and it has to be settled, which can only truly happen if Boruto finds a way to remove Momoshiki's soul, which is attached to his body and is inside of him genetically. He is Momoshiki and Momoshiki is him. One doesn't exist without the other currently. It's a true parasitic relationship. Only then would Kawaki, who, while he is emotional, he is still someone when he isn't sniffing Naruto's bed sheets, getting high off of Naruto's scent, he is still a pretty logical guy. It's only if he sees Boruto has truly removed Momoshiki from his soul, his genetics, his body, that their final battle can result in Naruto and Hinata being unsealed. That battle we saw in the flash forward sequence, assuming it's their final battle, and Boruto maintains his Deadpool-esque energy where he's basically going zippity doo-dah, zippity a, I'm gonna blow Kawaki away, plenty of Racine Dawn bullets to spray, zippity doo-dah, zippity a, and he beats some sense into Kawaki. That's the path to the two Uzumaki's parents being unsealed. Thematically, if Sasuke is unsealed before that, it works as well, given that Sasuke seeing his student come out on top of a dispute between brothers that will ultimately end up with Naruto being saved, that works as well. But then you also have the issue of the Karma Seal, and that in of itself goes back to Shibai, who was able to transcend above needing a karma altogether. We've seen that with the Otsutsuki, there is one who can transcend what shouldn't be transcend. He can do what should be impossible. The fact that Boruto and Kawaki were both there to hear Shibai's story, that was not by mistake, and there is more information that is out there, particularly pertaining to Shibai, that could be used here. Think of it from this perspective. After Kawaki had seemingly done the impossible by having a karma seal reverse engineered onto his body and awoken via his emotions, keep that in mind, his emotions that Amado said were required to awaken karma, basically linking the manifestation of karma to will. You can also say potentially the removal of karma might have something to do with the will as well, which I have a really good idea of how karma's getting removed, and it has to do with Kawaki, but it's not appropriate for this video because this video is more so looking at Boruto's role in all of this. So you should probably expect that video on Tuesday, since there should be a Naruto lore video going up on Monday. Getting back to it though, Kawaki awakening the karma, otherwise it never would have happened had he never been emotional. Add it that Boruto and Kawaki's promise to remove each other's karma seal, which includes Otsutsuki genetics. Now that we know how karma works, add it with the remaining lore of Shibai that we were never told, because the conversation Amado promised to continue never got continued because Kawaki sealed Naruto and omnipotence happened. It feels as if there are puzzle pieces that are being scattered around that Boruto needs to put together before he can rid himself and Kawaki of the karma and truly end this cycle of hatred between his brother, his family, and Kawaki, very similar to how the Silva family ended their issues in the New Black Clover chapter, which you can click here on the left to watch my review for the 48 pages that we waited 3.5 months in order to get. And over here on the right, we have another video from Naruto Explained that YouTube says you're probably gonna enjoy.